everybody, and welcome to the Young Turks. I'm Ben Gleib, and we have quite the show for you today. I am joined by the host of Fair and Balanced, Farron Cousins, and the host at TYT's Rebel HQ, the fantastic Rayyvana, is with us today. Hello, both of you.
Great to be here.
Great to be here with you. It's been a minute.
It has indeed. It's good to be together again. Looks like Trump might be closer to going down. I think that's a cause for celebration myself. So why don't we get right into it? We have got our first story, and it is quite shocking, the words that come out of a former Trump sycophant. Let's roll it.
I do think that even half what Andy McCarthy said, which is if even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning. And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous.
He has always looked like toast, and now he might be toast following Donald Trump's, oh, no big deal, 37 count indictment last week. His former lackey, Attorney General William Barr, spoke out yet again against Trump on Fox News, no less, saying that the government's classified documents case against him is strong and clearly concerning. As for the crimes in question, the Orange Monster faces 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information, a crime delineated in the Espionage Act that carries a maximum prison sentence of 10 years. Each count represents a different highly sensitive document that Trump allegedly kept at Mar-a-Lago, his Florida residence and private club. 21 of those documents, including some involving nuclear secrets, were found by FBI agents who searched the estate in August, yielding a total of 102 classified documents, according to the indictment. The other 10 willful retention charges stem from a batch of 38 classified documents turned over to the FBI last June in response to a grand jury subpoena. Despite Trump's insistence, Barr argued that the documents Trump had in his possession were in no way his personal belongings. Listen to this.
He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong that he had the right to have those documents. Those documents are among the most sensitive secrets that the country has. They have to be in the custody of the archivist. He had no right to maintain them and retain them. And he kept them in a way at Mar-a-Lago that anyone who really cares about national security their stomach would churn at it. This entire thing came about because of reckless conduct of the president. If he had just turned over the documents, which I think every other person in the country would have done, they're the government's documents, they're official records, they're not his personal records. Battle plans for an attack on another country or Defense Department documents about our capabilities are in no universe Donald J. Trump's personal documents.
Oh, just battle plans and highly sensitive information about our capabilities militarily. That's all. Of course, right-wingers love to ignore plain evidence and just as much love to draw a false equivalency between documents that Joe Biden and Mike Pence, for example, had in their possession. But Barr also poured cold water on that comeback as well. Take a look.
There are two big lies, I think, that are out there right now. One is, these other presidents took all these documents. Those were situations where they arranged with the archives to set up special space under the management, control, and security provided by the archivist to temporarily put documents until the libraries were ready. These were not people just putting them in their basement, okay? And the second thing that the president, this idea that the president has complete authority to declare any document personal is obvious. It's facially ridiculous.
Facially ridiculous, a perfect description of Donald Trump. Wow, so it turns out the other documents were arranged in advance, which seems normal and not a problem. Also important fact, those other dudes didn't resist at all when asked to hand the documents back over to the government. The Orange Menace, on the other hand, is facing multiple accusations of trying to obstruct justice. Those allegations include moving boxes out of a storage room, telling an attorney to search that room for classified material without saying that dozens of boxes were being kept elsewhere, putting him on literally a wild goose chase, suggesting an attorney hide or destroy documents that had been subpoenaed, and causing another person to make false statements about whether all the classified documents had been produced. Trumpy was not happy that his former AG called him out, writing on Truth Social, "Virtually everyone is saying the indictment is about election interference." Nobody is saying that. "And should not have been brought, except Bill Barr, a quote, for no reason, quote, disgruntled former employee and lazy attorney general who was weak and totally ineffective." Okay, it doesn't mean what he's saying. It's just misinformation. No space. Barr's doing it because he hates, quote, Trump. Why his own name would be in quotes, nobody understands. For firing him. He was deathly afraid of the radical left when they said they would impeach him. He knows the indictment is BS. Turn off Fox News when that, quote, gutless pig is on. His random use of quotes is one of the most disturbing things if it weren't for the constant treason and espionage that he is also, in my estimation, clearly guilty of. But despite all of that, of course, because the brains on the right are so broken, it's beyond understanding and comprehension of any rational mind. Guess who Barr said he plans to vote for? Claiming that neither Trump nor Joe Biden are fit for office, even though, of course, there's no evidence that he's presented of Biden not being fit for office. Barr said he would nevertheless go for Trump should 2024 turn out to be another matchup between the two men. So let's pause right here and discuss the insanity that is all of this. I just can't get over that he says it's not at all right. It's insane. This is espionage act. He's toast, but I will still vote for him. Farron?
The whole Trump insult thing there, I have to say, part of me, actually all of me, Bill Barr deserves every second of that. I mean, the horrible things that Bill Barr did while Attorney General, running interference, for the Mueller report, basically exonerating Trump when the report said the exact opposite. This guy deserves everything that Trump is throwing at him right now, with the exception of the insults, of course, about his weight. But other than that, Bill Barr's also right about how serious this is for Donald Trump. He does understand the law, regardless of what he did during the Trump administration. He understands how these things work. He knows how bad this is, but it just shows you at the end of all of it, how none of it really matters to most of the folks on the right. Because Bill Barr can sit there and be like, this is horrendous. Oh my God, this guy's basically committing treason against the United States. And let me go grab my MAGA hat because I'm totally voting for him in 2024. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters to most of these people. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, because you can make a great legal case, but then when you turn around and say, I'm still in this guy's corner, then nothing matters at that point.
100%, and I would even slightly disagree with you saying that he doesn't deserve the comments about his weight, only because when you sign up to work for Donald Trump, this person insults people based on their appearance. You're signing up for that. You're signing up to go and die on the sword of a man who will insult your appearance, who will insult everything about you if you show 1 ounce of honesty / disloyalty to him. Ray?
I think that you guys and Bill Barr are being a little bit unfair to Donald Trump, because who amongst us doesn't sit in our bathroom and leaf through, tactical plans for an invasion of Iran by the light of the chandelier? That's something we can all relate to. That being said, Bill Barr is a fake friend. That's really what I took away from this. And Farron is absolutely correct that, Bill Barr is someone who stood at the defense of Donald Trump. He was a part of the Trump administration. And really the only reason that we see him insulting Trump in this, or going against him on the news, is because he's fallen out of the good graces of Trump. And that's probably why at the end he slips in, in interviews he slips in, yeah, I'll vote for the guy again. I think that he's a danger to America and that he should probably be prosecuted. But I'll also vote for the guy again because of course he wants to be back at that inner circle. He's lost, the ability to have and wield political power within Republican circles, and he needs to get back in Trump's graces to do it. But at the same time, he's sort of got this little niche for himself in the media to, go against Trump, be the guy from the administration who can speak against Trump. So, at the end of the day, that's, he's just a fake friend.
And it's the same Bill Barr that stood by Trump when Trump tear gassed American citizens so he could hold a Bible upside down. It's the same Bill Barr that testified against Trump during the Jan 6 hearings and said this is unconscionable, unbelievable behavior, but still, he's still my guy in 2024. It is very wild. And while Bill Barr still seems to have some hope for Trump to have come to Jesus and grow a conscience and still be his candidate, there's somebody maybe even more impactful in Republican politics that is standing in Trump's corner, at least offering him some words of wisdom. Let's take this video, please.
I'm gonna share some advice that I got from some of the greatest legal minds of our generation, of my lifetime: F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz, Johnny Cochran, Bob Shapiro, the great Barry Scheck and Peter Neufeld, Malcolm Laverne here in Vegas. The one thing they all told me and stressed to me: do not talk about the case publicly. Do not do interviews about the case. The Bakers threatened to quit if I did that. My point is, I don't know if Donald's lawyers are stressing this to him. If they're not, they should be fired and he should sue them.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be a problem for the Orange Menace, who has not stopped yelling and whining about this case on Truth Social since the moment he was indicted. And obviously it won't stop at any point, but with friends like OJ, who needs friends is how I like to look at it. Wild. Any last thoughts on this, Farron?
Yeah, I mean, OJ's sitting there like, hey, listen, I've talked to the great legal minds and they say this. Listen, Trump's been told this by the judges. Trump has been told that by his lawyers. Why do you think that he's calling around every lawyer he can find on Google in Miami today? Because nobody wants to do it. No lawyer wants to take on a client that is not going to listen to their solid legal advice. So I find it kind of funny that he's like, hey, has anybody thought to tell Trump to just shut up? Yeah, the whole country's been telling the man to shut up for 5 years or longer, and he's not gonna listen. So appreciate the advice, man, but we've literally all tried it and it hasn't ever worked.
I really enjoyed the line where OJ said, one of the greatest legal minds, Alan Dershowitz. That might be the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. And of course, like Farron said, his advice is correct. Trump should shut the hell up. But he's bleeding attorneys last week on Thursday night, he had 2 attorneys defending him on CNN. By Friday morning, they had both quit. Within hours of defending him on CNN, they had quit because he is someone who's impossible to represent. And as someone who just graduated law school and is looking forward to practicing, that would be the biggest nightmare client. Someone, and obviously no attorney wants to represent someone who won't listen to them.
Yep, the only people who do have a hard time quitting Trump is almost all Republicans in this country. Other than that, it's very hard for him to find any loyalty. Luckily, he's got the loyalty he needs. God help us all. Whew. All right, moving on to our next story. Oh, no, you know what? Actually, I think we should take a break. I think we should take a little break. That was such I think we need a cleanse after that. Let's take a moment to breathe in. We will be right back very shortly with more TYT. The The only thing Republicans love more than guns is taunting people with their guns. Take a look at this.
I have a message tonight for Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and Joe Biden. And the guys back there in the fake news media, you should listen up as well. This one's for you. If you want to get to President Trump, you're going to have to go through me, and you're going to have to go through 75 million Americans just like me. And I'm going to tell you, yep, most of us are card-carrying members of the NRA. That's not a threat. That's a public service announcement.
How self-satisfied she is. That's not a threat. It's a public service announcement, meaning it's a threat, but I legally have to say it's not a threat, even though I did just threaten you with my gun and the gun of 75 million people. That's right. Over the weekend, Kari Lake made it very clear that Trump supporters should come armed to protest his indictment. She's not the only one. Even after Donald Trump got indicted for a second time last week, this time federally, 37 counts just to remind you, his support among the MAGA base is unwavering, some even calling for civil war. Stay tuned for that, Jim, but I'd like to also just point out here before we continue in this story that the false bravado that these complete jokes of people, these complete jokes of fake leaders that are just there for attention and fame they don't even have any sort of substance behind what they say. You're gonna have to come through me to get to Donald Trump. Really? You don't think he's gonna be showing up to that courthouse Tuesday? Is Kari Lake gonna be standing in the middle? Is there gonna be 75 million people or even one person in the way? He's gonna be escorted right in. He's gonna be fingerprinted, mugshot, and let right out. And while some don't give a damn about whether or not he's convicted for espionage under federal law, others are saying Trump is infallible and should not even have any opposition campaigns while facing indictment. They don't even want a backup plan. After facing indictment for a large amount of crimes, still they say he should be our only man, our only bet. Let's start with human dolphin fetus Charlie Kirk. The right-wing chud is calling for solidarity for Trump by asking all 2024 candidates to drop out of the race, writing, every Republican, quote unquote, running for president should suspend their campaign and go to Miami as a show of support. If you don't, you are part of the problem. Either we have an opposition party or we don't. Go to Miami Tuesday and show solidarity, or we will mark you as part of the opposition. None of these dudes can even spell. And while Kirk's call might seem crazy, it does speak directly to the MAGA base whose support for Trump is not at all affected by the new indictment. A new poll, not surprisingly, finds, according to The Hill, 80% of likely GOP voters think Trump should still be able to be president if convicted on federal espionage charges. Do you understand the level of idiocy banging around in these people's brains, if you can call them brains? I call it styrofoam empty space. More from the poll. The CBS News YouGov poll found just 12% of GOP primary voters said they're more concerned the documents were a national security risk, compared to 76% who said they're more concerned the indictment against Trump was politically motivated. 61% in that group also said the indictment, quote, won't change their view of the former president. Well, I guess once you've sunk to a place real low, once we're in that sunken place, no teacup spinning around is gonna pull you out of it. In fact, check this. Trump polled at the top of a hypothetical Republican field, leading with 61% who say they'll vote for him. In second place was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis with 23%. So that is where we're at. Farron, how does this all hit you?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm actually gonna stand in solidarity also with Charlie Kirk, and I want all other Republicans to drop out of the race right now. It should only be Trump. I mean, he's already got it on lockdown anyway, so y'all really aren't losing anything by dropping out right now. But what should be happening with these Republicans is they should be sending Jack Smith gift baskets, right? They should be behind closed doors, popping champagne corks, because he may be doing their dirty work for them. When you break out of those, Republican only polls, and we look at the polls that actually include the moderate voters, the independent voters, majority of those folks do not want Donald Trump to run for president again. Majority do not want him to be president again. Majority believe that he should be convicted. So most people in this country do not want Trump again. And if Jack Smith succeeds in actually having a successful prosecution and conviction of Trump, he just did them all a massive favor by taking away that giant liability from the Republican ticket. I mean, Republicans in the Senate are already sweating what's gonna happen if Trump's at the top of the ticket, how that's gonna affect their chances to take back the Senate. Same thing in the House. They know how toxic he is. So again, they should be thanking Jack Smith. Obviously, they can't do it publicly, but maybe a couple gift baskets here and there, a gift card to Cracker Barrel, whatever it is that they hate this week. That's what they should do, because he is helping them more than anything else they could imagine. But they don't want to accept it. They just want to say, oh, you're investigating Trump? Good, we're gonna kill you. That's where they're at. But Smith is actually doing them a massive favor if he can get Trump off their ticket.
And they only can't do it publicly because they are enormous cowards. Rayyvana, yes. Weigh in, please.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you to Kari Lake, because I learned something today that I didn't learn in law school, which is you can threaten the life of the Attorney General of the United States as long as after it you say it wasn't a threat. And then they can't do anything to you. It negates
the president. And the
president. I will say, I think it's really funny, and it's not just Kari Lake, it's all conservatives, especially the ones in media, who will hold up like Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and Joe Biden as like the enemy. And in my mind, these are pretty feckless individuals. Merrick Garland was, a compromise to try to get him through the Senate to be confirmed to be a Supreme Court justice, not someone who's, been shown any sort of industry to take on tough issues. I mean, we've seen a massive rise in hate crimes, but his Justice Department hasn't actually gone after hate crime perpetrators at the same level that they've been increasing. Joe Biden is a sundowning man, so there's that. Charlie Kirk's statement, I think, is a fine suggestion with me, honestly. I'd rather Trump be the nominee than DeSantis. So if they all want to drop out, although Ann Coulter had an even better suggestion. I'm not going to repeat it. I'll let everybody look that up on their own. It was a real case of the worst person just says something you agree with.
Oh, well, now I'm very curious. My goodness, can you summarize it?
She said something a little more serious than the rest of the candidates, just suspending their campaign, potentially suspending everything.
Yeah, moving on from this life to the next, basically.
That's really sweet of her. That is very, very sweet of her. I mean, it just not only speaks to the moral ineptitude of these people, but the political ineptitude. As you perfectly put it also, Farron, is any of these candidates, if DeSantis said, look, this is a bridge too far. We don't want the weaponization of government, but seeing these charges, if it's true, he could just say, if it's true, if it's proven to be true, this man literally is guilty of hiding and refusing to return classified documents. That is not a government conspiracy. We can still root out weaponization of government, use his own talking point, but not in the case of someone willfully committing espionage, willfully withholding documents. And they won't even do it politically. It's just they would so much rather just take on the opposition in absurd, comical, clownish ways. And it gets worse. With the calls for violence, it actually gets frighteningly worse, especially when we look at the number of Americans who are totally fine with using violence to put Trump back into the White House. Look at this headline: disturbing. 12 million US adults think violence is justified to put Trump back in White House. Quote, we're heading into an extremely tumultuous election season, said one expert. What's happening in the United States is political violence is going from the fringe to the mainstream. And they're not kidding. Trump supporters are already calling for civil war after news of his indictment. Quote from a user on the Donald, according to Vice News, quote, perhaps it's time for that civil war that the damn Demo KKK rats have been trying to start for years now, right? We've been trying to start a civil war on the Democratic side. Of course we have, right? By trying to be inclusive of everybody. And the threats get scarier as they get more specific, of course. In one post on the Donald titled, "A Little Bit About Merrick Garland, His Wife, His Daughters," a user shared a link to an article about the Attorney General's children. Under the post, another user replied, "His children are fair game as far as I'm concerned." In another post about the special counsel conducting the probe, one user on the Donald wrote, "Jack Smith should be arrested the minute he steps foot in the red state of Florida." So there's that. Farron, any thoughts?
You know, I think back to when Republicans took back over the House at the beginning of this year, and they told us repeatedly, like, we're gonna get Biden, we're gonna get Hunter Biden, we're investigating all of them. And the response from the Democratic side was, all right, do your investigations. I mean, whatever, like, we don't care. And then with Trump, it's like, hey, we gotta indict this guy because we've got so much crazy evidence. And they're like, okay, cool, we're just gonna kill you. Like, we're just gonna load up our guns and we're gonna do these horrific things. So, that's how we are. But the contrast could not be more stark between the two parties, especially on this particular issue. But I would also, just wanna say, we look at these things, we see these posts on the Donald, and Vice, that story did a phenomenal job of laying it all out there. And we would really love to think, or at least I would, that these are nothing more than a bunch of keyboard warriors talking tough online, but in reality, they're not gonna do anything. But we can't even assume that anymore. Because of January 6th and because of all of the violence that we've seen from these people in other instances, we have to take every single threat they lob online seriously. We have to act like this is not a threat, it is a promise. And I hope that the law enforcement down in South Florida is doing that. There are reports that they're trying to beef it up, they're trying to figure it out, but I don't know if they are treating it as the threat that it should be treated. These people posting these things shouldn't just, we shouldn't just be on the lookout for them. The cops should have already been knocking on their doors this morning is what should have happened, but it didn't.
100%, Ray.
Yeah, I think one thing about this that's really ironic is if you ask those 12 million, Jesus Christ, just saying that number is depressing. If you ask those 12 million Americans who want to use violence to install Donald Trump as the president, or if you ask those people who are posting on the Donald about, who are like threatening the lives of Merrick Garland's daughters and wife, were saying that Jack Smith should be arrested if he touches a toe in Florida. If you ask them if they think that they're defending democracy, I promise you they would say yes. I promise you they would say that this is democratic, that this is how we protect democracy, is by overthrowing a democratically elected president and installing our God, King, Emperor, dictator Donald Trump.
The very definition of democracy, violently installing a dictator. Anybody can look it up. Everyone's got access to the dictionary, just like we do. Although I do think there's an argument for arresting just anyone generally for stepping foot into Florida. I think that's a decent argument. And I say that realizing I'm risking my own freedom because I did just have a great time in Miami recently. If Miami weren't so damn fun, if South Beach weren't so damn fun, I'd be down with cutting the whole state off and letting it float off into the ocean. But they always have one fun city in the middle of these horrible repressive states that just lets them hang on by a thread and remain ones we want to keep in the country. Trump, of course, is scheduled to appear at 3 p.m. tomorrow, this Tuesday, at the Florida Southern District Courthouse in downtown Miami, where he will be formally charged. We're going to Miami, my friends. And Kari Lake is not the only one who is going to be there. Only one who's going to be there. Many of Trump's violent supporters are already planning protests. Quote, "Who's coming with me on Tuesday? I'll be the one in the F around and find out armor. Easy to find. KEK on the back collar." One member of the Donald wrote on Friday, quote, "I will be there peacefully to speak up about this misjustice. Legally, I will also be armed, well armed." The Christian conservative group Florida Republican Assembly said they chartered 4 buses to bring Trump fans from all corners of the state to Miami. And if you ask yourself why they're always being chartered in buses, none of these people drive or have cars. Buses is their preferred way to get around. Let somebody else drive them to the protests. They're well armed. They're licensed to carry a weapon, just not licensed to operate a vehicle. My goodness. Our next story. Oh wait, actually, there's more on this story. Holy hell. I thought there couldn't be any more, but there is. Take a look, for example, at this flyer, this advertisement that Vice News uncovered of the Florida Republican Assembly.com. Get involved in the FRA family. America First Freedom Road Trip. MAGA Trump flag and sign waving rally. How exciting for them. Show your support for President Donald J. Trump with his weird crooked thumbs. Only 4 buses available. RSVP via chapter president. Bring snacks. Like that's what they need. 10 a.m. the buses depart from the Walmart. Of course, that's where they depart. They gotta depart from a Walmart. And at 9:30, the bus arrives back at the Walmart before closing time so they can get their Walmart shopping in. It does not help that far-right talking heads are also supporting these calls. Laura Loomer, far-right activist and failed congressional candidate in Florida, also organized what she called a, quote, peaceful rally to protest the weaponization of government on Tuesday outside the courthouse. We are in trouble, but the good news is there's a discount on bullets at Walmart. I don't know what's happening. There's always some hope left, at least with getting discounts on summer slip and slides. So there's always a silver lining. Wild.
I want to say, I think if you put into an AI prompt, give me the most stereotypical Republican, redneck thing, it would come up with that little flyer that you just mentioned, because that is like every Republican buzzword, every Republican stereotype in one thing in that little flyer there. It's unbelievable how little self-awareness any of these people have. It's hilarious, actually.
Would it be possible to pull that flyer up again? Because if you look at the acronym on it, if you were to read it out loud, it would be a fart.
The good AFFRT organization, join us for a fart to support President Trump. And really one of their stronger acronyms thus far. Good luck, you guys. I hope you're able to stop Trump from getting into that courthouse. My money's on not. Our next story. Do we have time for next story? Or are we going to a break? Are we going to a break? I don't know what the thumbs up means. Go to a break or do another story. Thumbs up if you want me to go to a break. Or not, we're going to the next story. Here we go. This is very exciting. If you're a female out there and wanting Charlie Kirk to tell you what to do with your life, you had a great opportunity this last weekend. Turning Point USA's Young Women's Leadership Summit was very exciting. And if we can pull up the first graphic, let me tell you about it. According to Madeline Peltz at Media Matters, Turning Point USA's Young Women's Leadership Summit targets college and high school age girls. Speaker after speaker emphasized the audience that they should become wives, mothers, and accessories to the AstroTurf conservative movement rather than pursuing a demanding career. These themes were nearly identical to last year's YWLS or YOWULS. Yet this conference exists because of the labor of women on the right who clearly value their careers. Speakers like TPUSA influencer Alex Clark, Fox host Laura Ingraham, the Daily Wire's Candace Owens, covertly and overtly discourage the audience of young women from pursuing high-powered careers, like the ones they have. But it takes a lot of work to build an audience as a woman in right-wing media, of course. Behind the scenes, Turning Point USA's events and marketing leadership are also populated by women. Chief Marketing Officer Marina Mina's biography says nothing of her achievements in the domestic realm, strangely. The same goes for the Vice President of Events, Lauren Tonchich. But that wasn't the only contradiction this absurd event had on display. There was apparently also Brace yourself. A pride flag. No! The writer of this story shared, much to my surprise, the first thing I saw when I pulled up to the venue was a massive pride flag. In his opening speech, TPUSA founder Charlie Kirk described his unsuccessful efforts to have the flag taken down. Quote, "I tried my best to take down the flag, everybody," he said. "The crowd responded with cheers. I failed, okay? I'm sorry, I tried my best. I know you were all thinking it, right? What is that all about? By the way, this hotel better do something or we're gonna find another hotel because I'm not gonna come back. This is ridiculous." The ridiculousness is just a flag making the LGBTQ community feel welcomed in this world. It's ridiculous, according to Charlie Kirk. The conference featured an exhibition hall with booths selling dump your liberal boyfriend sweatshirts from a right-wing dating app founded by a former Trump White House staffer I can only assume is single, career recruitment for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Faith, and bedazzled purses shaped like guns. Don't believe me? Take a look at this here image. This is not at all insane. It's totally normal bunch of images, purses that can clearly hold almost nothing, shaped like guns. How exciting that is. Alex Clark, the host and face of this event and host of TPUSA's Young Woman Focused podcasts, had a totally normal, not at all unhinged intro to this event as well. Look at this footage.
Oh my gosh. Young Women's Leadership Summit. Are you ready to see this degenerate, rotten culture that we've been living in get a makeover? Well, you are in the right place.
Degenerate, rotten culture we're in get a makeover as they are in their 70s themed event, 70s attire. The makeover, yet again, these Republicans want is just to bring our country back in time. For the next 30 minutes, she launched into a winding pseudo-academic diatribe about the 4 lies of modern feminism, which according to Clark are birth control, abortion, fertility care, and daycare. She has staked her brand in part on spreading misinformation about birth control. It's a regular feature of her podcasts. Count me out on those. Then she finally spoke truth to power. She took on the great American horror of, wait for it, daycare. She described it as her spiciest take, saying that a lot of mothers in the 70s, the decade was the conference's theme, who desired freedom and flexibility or who didn't necessarily have a support system were oblivious to the fact that the solutions presented to them as safe, liberating, or harmless were anything but. And one of those solutions was daycare. After an awkward pause, she added, "It just got real uncomfy. Did you feel that shift?" "Yeah, cause you lost the room, girl." But like a real feminist, she persisted. Clark claimed the feminist movement is in large part to blame for the fracturing of the traditional home, where women were coerced outside of their natural roles as mothers into the workforce. She went on, the feminist movement gave way to the notion that a woman could have her cake and eat it too. You can have the career you want and you can raise your children in a positive educational environment, AKA daycare. She described it as a lie to tell women we can have it all. But I'm sure everyone wasn't on the same page, right? There was probably someone reasonable in the bunch speaking to this group. Maybe fundamentalist podcaster Allie Stuckey? Fundamentalist podcaster Allie Beth Stuckey opened day 2 of the conference. She struck a notably more pointed Christian extremist tone than the other speakers, though religious rhetoric was ubiquitous throughout the conference. Quote, "I can tell you what your highest calling is," she said. "It's not to have a career. It's not even to be a wife and mom, as wonderful as those things are. Your highest calling is to glorify God." But nobody made the overarching theme of the conference more clear than the founder of TPUSA, the dolphin fetus himself, Charlie Kirk. Take a listen to these pearls of wisdom.
In my personal opinion, you should enter the serious dating pool earlier than not, right? I'm talking 22, 23, 24. This whole idea of putting your career first. I think is a very, very dangerous proposition. It could work out for you, but I hear stories every day. Charlie, I decided to go become a partner at a law firm, and now I'm 32 years old, and I can't find anyone because all the good ones are gone. There is some truth to quote unquote the good ones being gone. The window does narrow, and so I think you should prioritize, what do I want most in my life? And if that thing is the best thing that I think a human being can do, which is to get married and have kids, then you should do that with clear intentionality. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it.
Anybody turning to Charlie Kirk to complain about the good ones being gone, hoping that thumb face is gonna have the solution for you, is just far gone. But Rayyvana, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, as a woman who for too long has been trying to have it all, I think what I really need in my life is Charlie Kirk with his uppercase head and his lowercase face to get on a stage and lecture to me about my life. No, I mean, first of all, if someone is a partner at a law firm by 32, that's an amazing accomplishment. And I promise that woman is not complaining to Charlie Kirk about how she cannot be married. But you know what? Why shouldn't Charlie Kirk speak on women's issues? He's made a career of speaking on things he knows nothing about. I mean, for the love of God, Turning Points USA is an organization that was created to promote conservatism on college campuses. It was founded in the idea that conservative ideas are being suppressed on college campuses. And Charlie Kirk never went to college. So how would he know? How is he an expert at that? I also want to say that shout out to Candace Owens for going on stage at that conference and saying women are responsible for all the ills in society, and that women need to stay at home and be mothers, and that if you're not a mother by 30, that then you've lost your edge, which she wasn't a mother by the age of 30. She didn't have her kids until she was in her mid 30s, which is fine, but apparently, it's fine for her, but not for any of the other women at the conferences. And of course, the irony of all those women standing up there and saying, don't have a career while they all have careers is utterly and completely ridiculous.
Sounds like some of these women are just wanting to reduce competition for themselves.
Right. Exactly.
I think the reason Charlie Kirk is up there saying, listen, ladies, if you don't find a good one by 22, 23, they're all gonna be gone. It's probably because his wife, I'm assuming, walks around the house all day muttering, all the good ones were gone. And just giving him the look like, you son of, but look, these people know nothing about anything. They go up on stage and I swear to God, have a job that I'm not gonna lie, I am totally envious of. Because you don't have to have actual research, you don't have to have facts. You go up on stage, you make up the most ridiculous sounding stuff people have ever heard in their lives, and you make millions of dollars. Like, that sounds like the best job on the planet, and they've got it. So I give them full credit for that. Nothing they say is true. They don't ever have to do research. We have stories and we have to pour through them, and we have to go do extra research just to make sure. These guys, they just make it up. People eat it up. And I will say again, I get jealous of it sometimes, because that seems like the most laid back, easy life on the planet. Because you don't even have to worry about being right. You just say whatever crazy thought pops into your head and you get another $1 million off it. Sounds kind of sweet to me.
It does, and the people themselves who are sitting there in the audience, whose life experience does not match the advice they are being given, still cheer like complete blind sycophants at people who are telling them your existence is wrong, give up the reason you're here. I have a strong feeling that a lot of women who are at a women's leadership conference aren't the same women who are trying to just stay home and take care of the household. They probs trying to get stuff done career-wise in their lives. The entire event is a complete conundrum and a hypocritical endeavor, which of course is what Talking Points USA was built to achieve. So another mission accomplished. Let's land on that hangar again and put the banner up saying, human babies are the same as dolphin fetuses, Charlie. Well done, well done. And on that note, we are going to take a break so we can breathe deep, meditate, find a little Zen moment in our own bodies so we're able to continue. Stick with us, do not go anywhere. The Young Turks will be right back. And we are back. One comment I didn't read during the break, I'd love to read right now just because it's about me and I like it. Jazz Masood says Ben's Trump impression should come with a trigger warning. Too good. I like that. Thank you very much. It's the best one there is. Let's move on to a non-Trump related story if we can. The executive vice president of global communications and brand at Politico had a hilarious meltdown on Twitter after David Sirota, the editor-in-chief of The Lever, called Politico out for publishing a piece that was sponsored by the banking industry about the banking industry. This all started yesterday when Sirota tweeted this. Politico just published a news story amplifying bank lobbyists' demand that regulators allow even more bank mergers. And the piece is literally, quote, presented by the American Bankers Association. He included a screenshot of the piece, which you can see right here. Headline, Bank Merger Vibe Check presented by American Bankers Association. And here's how the paid for piece opens. A top lobbyist for big US banks is hearing more openness from government officials on the topic of mergers for mid-sized lenders in the wake of banking stress earlier this year. But the industry wants more than just talk. Don't you love how this paid piece quotes the incredible fact-based source of a top lobbyist is hearing? An unnamed lobbyist heard with his ears, with his nose to the grindstone, picked up a whiff of something that might be a rumor that would perfectly make no sense to actually save the banking industry, but would be really great for us to be able to gobble up more small banks and make the system more vulnerable. Breaking all logic, but helping us make more money for our big conglomerate banks. The piece also quotes the CEO of the Bank Policy Institute, or BPI, which is an organization that represents banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and many more. The BPI has also spent thousands of dollars supporting corporate-friendly politicians such as Kevin always closes his eyes in orgasmic pleasure the way he ruins the country McCarthy, and Hakeem Jeffries. Here's what Greg Bayer, CEO of the BPI, told Politico. There's been something of a sea change in Washington over the last 2 months. I do think at the highest level and at the highest levels, there's a recognition that mid-sized banks need to be allowed to merge and be acquired potentially by larger banks. Brad Dayspring, the Politico exec, was not very happy with Sirota pointing out the obvious conflicts of interest in the piece, writing, Politico didn't just publish this story. It happened several days ago. Wow, what a great burn. Adding, it's not a news story, it's a newsletter item in a newsletter that chronicles the cross-section of Washington and Wall Street. The item is accurate. It's a thing that happened, which, this may surprise you, the subscribers of that newsletter, wait for it, do so in order to get updates like this. You might not like its substance, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a thing that happened. What's the thing that happened? The dude that heard stuff? I heard there might be talk that maybe more people are into small banks being bought by big banks. He continued, you're an activist, and that's great, do your thing. But don't just totally BS and lie to your own readers and followers. Stop with the faux outrage over a standard sharing of something that happened, just to line your own pockets. Sirota responded by changing the wording of his original tweet to accommodate Dayspring's nitpicking, writing, Politico published a news story / newsletter amplifying bank lobbyists' demand for more bank mergers. The news story / newsletter was presented by the American Bankers Association. Now take a look at Politico's executive vice president frantically trying to explain that away. Dayspring quickly gave up trying to defend the substance of the piece and started attacking Sirota's appearance. LOL, you're such a clown. One who apparently got so tired of using Botox and fillers to blur your face that you instead switched to a cartoon, referring to his cartoon avatar. Well played. So that's the story. Ray, thoughts?
I think that, and it happens to me too, sometimes people will try to insult my appearance by telling me I have Botox and fillers, but as someone who's never had Botox or fillers, that's a compliment, baby. Thanks for telling me I look good. Also, shout out to the letter hack who drew the profile picture that David Sirota uses. He's definitely drawn all of us at this point, talented artist. Everyone should go check out his work. This breakdown, well, first of all, I want to talk about the way that the article was labeled. The press release about bank mergers. It says bank merger vibe check. vibe check, as if we throw the word vibe in there, maybe it'll appeal to like young people and they'll become interested in this.
Also, if you put the word vibe in, it makes it not news.
Right. It's just shameless, and obviously he's very defensive about what's going on, which is why he immediately turns and starts attacking David Sirota's appearance. I mean, if you ever want to not give off the impression that you're defensive, don't get defensive. If you ever want to give off the impression that you stand by what you did, don't start insulting someone's Twitter profile picture. I mean, it's silly, but I mean, David Sirota is doing real work, and this person's trying to deflect by accusing him of having Botox.
Well said. Also, I'm now offended that nobody has ever accused me of having Botox or fillers. They're saying I don't look good, and now it deeply hurts. I thought that was like positive. Now I realize I need to work on my face. Maybe I can plump it up in some natural way. Farron, vibe check. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, like, trying to be young and hip, like, hey kids, is your bank capping? I don't know the lingo. I don't know what I'm doing, why I even said that. But I will say, actually, Ray, I'm a little upset. I was totally waiting to do that. Shout out to the letter hack. And but no, awesome dude. Matt is great. Please, everybody support him. He's amazing. But it's the meme. I mean, this little article thing they put out is the meme. Like, did a bank write this? Yeah, they did. And Politico has been doing this for years and years. They'll put out this propaganda from the fossil fuel industry, and sure, it'll say, this piece is, sponsored by the American Petroleum Institute or whatever climate change denying organization sponsors it that day. And Politico acts like, no, this is what we do. We're totally cool with it because apparently it's a newsletter, which isn't actually news, in spite of the fact that it's called newsletter. Like, did that dude not notice that? Like, it's not news, it's a newsletter, my friend. Cool, let's split hairs over what to call it instead of just saying, this is the problem with corporate controlled media, and yes, Politico fits under that banner, and they're more than happy to display that banner, letting everybody know that their stories are bought and paid for by the industry.
Very strong point. And notice it's never stories in their newsletters paid for by like Greta Thunberg or a hungry polar bear. It's always people who are on a questionable side of things. And interestingly, now the piece no longer states it's presented by the American Bankers Association. It's now presented by the Consumer Credit Card Protection Coalition, which is an organization that opposes the Credit Card Competition Act. Wow, against competition yet again. The CCCA would lower credit card swipe fees by mandating more competition in credit processing industry, which is dominated by Visa and MasterCard. For reference, the European Union has capped credit card swipe fees at 0.3%. Visa and MasterCard both had a swipe fee of 2.2% in 2021. According to the Merchants Payments Coalition, swipe fees drove up prices for the average American by at least $900 in 2021. So, of course, let's have Politico taking stories now being sponsored by the people opposing saving Americans money and having reasonable swipe fees. How lovely is that? That's the note we're gonna leave you all on for today. I'm gonna look into what I can do to plump up my face so that I look as unnaturally wonderful as some are being accused of looking. I can't wait. Ray, anything quickly you'd like to plug or mention?
Yeah, I have a new piece coming out in Politico's newsletter called "No Cap Deregulation is Really Chill." Everybody go check out my Rebel HQ videos. I'll be hosting the second hour of the show tomorrow, so make sure you're watching then. Also be filling in for Nina Turner tomorrow as well. So as you're always watching on Boss, just make sure you're checking it out again tomorrow.
Love that, Farron.
YouTube.com/The Ring of Fire and YouTube.com/Farron Balanced. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, get me at Farron Balanced.
I love that. And you can catch me releasing 3 stand-up comedy videos per week at Ben Gleib on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook Reels and YouTube. And you can see me tomorrow on Unbossed with Senator Nina Turner with Rayyvana. So check that out. And the second hour of today's Young Turks show will be beginning momentarily. Stick with us. Hit the join button below if you haven't on YouTube. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again very soon.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.